Hi everyone, welcome back to Dr. Burns' TOEFL show. Today, we're focusing on one of the most misunderstood tasks in TOEFL writing, the email writing task. Many students mistakenly believe there is one perfect template they can use for every situation. A common example is starting with, "I hope you are doing well." While this can work in informal or friendly contexts when you know the person well, it is not appropriate in more formal situations such as writing to a professor, a supervisor, or someone you have never met. If you want a reliable and universal approach, it's better to begin with something clear and direct, like, "I am writing to." This works in almost any context because emails are meant to clearly state their purpose. However, if you want to earn a top score, you need to go beyond a basic template. The more your email is tailored to the situation, the stronger and more effective it will be. You can see why this matters when you look at official TOEFL questions. The situations vary widely. Sometimes you're writing in a formal context, such as to a magazine editor, an instructor, or a customer service center. Other times, the situation is more informal, like writing to a classmate or a colleague. Your tone and attitude must change depending on the purpose. You may need to sound appreciative, persuasive, neutral, or even slightly critical. An email asking for help should not sound like one making a complaint, and a message to a friend should not sound like a formal business letter. In today's lesson, we'll focus on how to adjust your tone and language depending on the situation. We'll look at 5 common types of email tasks: saying thank you and asking for a favor, sending an invitation and explaining details, asking for recommendations, describing a problem and suggesting a solution, and responding to a difficult or critical situation. First, let's look at what the TOEFL email writing task actually looks like. You will read some information and then use it to write an email. You will have about 7 minutes, and the to and subject line will already be given. The task will include 3 specific instructions, and you must respond to all 3 clearly and fully, using relevant ideas and appropriate language. A strong email follows a basic structure. Greeting, Dear Miss Clark. Hi, Alex. Body. The body should address all 3 tasks. Start by clearly stating your purpose. I am writing to thank you for. I am writing to ask about. I am writing regarding. Then develop each task with 2 to 3 sentences, adding explanation and detail. Closing. Thank you for your time. I look forward to your reply. End with sincerely/best regards, your name. As you can see, the greeting and closing are fairly standard and easy to prepare in advance. The most challenging part is the body, where you must clearly and effectively respond to all 3 tasks. In the next part of the lesson, we'll look at different situations and how to write strong, natural responses for each one. 1. Thank you plus asking for a favor. Let's start with one of the most useful and common email types, saying thank you and asking for a favor. This is a very natural communication pattern. First, you thank the person to show appreciation and build a positive tone. Then, you smoothly ask for something you need. This makes your request sound polite and reasonable, not demanding. You will see this situation appear in many different contexts on the TOEFL, but the core idea is always the same. For example, after a meeting or presentation, someone may share useful ideas, data, or insights. In this case, you thank them for their time and then ask for helpful materials, such as slides, notes, or a report they mentioned. In another situation, after a job interview, you want to be polite but also need more information. You thank the interviewer for the opportunity and then ask about next steps or request details like a job description or benefits information. Finally, this can happen when you are following up on a favor or collaboration. If someone helped you with part of a task, you thank them and then ask for what you need to complete the rest, like a file, login information, or additional data. Even though the situations are different, the structure stays the same. You must always include 3 key parts. Thank the person, explain why their help or information was useful, and ask for additional resources or support. To help you do this, you can use simple and flexible phrases. For thanking, thank you for the workshop. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. For explaining, I really liked your ideas on. I found it very informative because. Your ideas on topic were especially helpful. Your advice about topic was very helpful. For asking, could you recommend? Would it be possible to share? Could you please send over the slides, notes, or materials we talked about? You mentioned a book, website, or contact during our conversation. Would you mind sharing that information with me? I'd love to learn more. One important thing to remember is how to ask politely. You don't want to sound like you are demanding something. Instead of saying, "Send me this," use softer and more respectful language, such as, "Would it be possible to? I was wondering if." Also, avoid saying thanks in advance because it can sound like you are assuming the person will do the favor. A better option is, "I appreciate any help you can provide." If your request might take time, you can also add, "No rush at all, whenever you have time." This small detail makes your email sound much more polite and considerate. Once you understand this pattern, you can apply it to many different TOEFL situations with confidence. Example. Now that we understand the basic structure of a thank you plus asking for a favor email, let's apply it to a real TOEFL-style question. The situation is this. You recently attended a workshop on digital marketing and found it very informative. You want to thank the presenter, Ms. Clark, and ask for additional resources to continue learning. Your task is to thank her for the workshop, explain in detail why you found it informative, and ask for additional resources or recommendations. The most challenging part is usually the second task, explaining why the workshop was informative. Many students give general answers like, "It was very helpful," but this is not enough for a high score. Since the topic is digital marketing, you should include specific ideas related to that field. So, what is digital marketing? Simply put, it is using the internet to promote products or services. Instead of traditional methods like flyers or TV ads, businesses use websites, social media, search engines, and email to reach the right audience. The goal is to attract attention and encourage people to take action, such as buying a product or signing up for a service. To make your explanations stronger, you can include a few simple terms from the field. For example, audience targeting, choosing the right group of people for a message; content marketing, creating useful or interesting content to attract attention; social media strategy, using platforms like Instagram or TikTok effectively; analytics or data tracking, measuring what works and what doesn't; customer engagement, encouraging people to interact with a brand. You don't need to use all of these, just one or two naturally will make your answer more specific and impressive. Now, here is a strong sample response. Dear Ms. Clark, I am writing to thank you for the engaging and insightful workshop on digital marketing. I truly appreciated the opportunity to attend. Your presentation was especially informative because you explained key concepts such as audience targeting and social media strategies in a very practical and accessible way. The real-world examples you shared made it much easier to understand how these ideas are applied in professional settings. I would also appreciate any additional resources you could recommend, such as books, articles, or online courses, so that I can continue developing my knowledge in this area. Thank you again for your time and effort. I look forward to your response. Sincerely, your name. This response clearly answers all 3 tasks, uses specific details, and maintains a polite and natural tone, exactly what you need for a high TOEFL score. Now let's look at another very common TOEFL email type, invitations. An invitation email is used when you want someone to attend or join an event. This could be something formal, like a conference or webinar, or something more casual, like a study group or small gathering. No matter the situation, the goal is always the same. Clearly explain what the event is, why it matters, and how the person can participate. You will see this type of task in many real-life situations. For example, companies send invitations to conferences or industry events, often highlighting key speakers and providing registration details. You might also see invitations to online workshops or webinars, where the writer explains the topic and sometimes mentions that a recording will be available. Other situations include customer appreciation events, company parties, or even small group activities like study sessions. Even though these situations are different, they all follow the same basic structure. In a TOEFL task, you usually need to include 3 things: explain the purpose of the event, describe your plan or what will happen, suggest the time and place, or how to join. The first part is explaining the purpose. This means clearly stating why you are inviting them. For example, I am writing to invite you to join a study group for our upcoming exam. The second part is describing your plan. This is where you add useful details about what will happen. You can mention topics, activities, or how the event will be organized. For example, we will review key topics, share notes, and practice sample questions together. The third part is giving clear details about time and place. This is very important because the reader needs to know exactly how to join. For example, our first meeting will be on Friday at 3 p.m. in the library. Here are some useful phrases you can use. For inviting, I would like to invite you to. For describing plans, we plan to focus on. We will cover topics such as. For time and place, the meeting will take place on. We will meet at. Now let's apply this to a TOEFL-style question. You are a student organizing a study group for an upcoming exam. You want to invite your classmates to join and explain how the group will work. Your task is to explain the purpose of the study group, describe what you plan to do during the sessions, and suggest a time and location for the first meeting. The key challenge here is the second part, describing your plan clearly. Don't just say, we will study. Instead, give specific details like reviewing notes, discussing difficult topics, or practicing questions together. This makes your response stronger and more complete. Now here's a full example. Dear classmates, I am writing to invite you to join a study group to prepare for our upcoming exam. The goal of this group is to review key material together and support one another in understanding more challenging topics. Working collaboratively should help us strengthen our knowledge and feel more confident. During our sessions, we can go over important concepts from the course, review lecture notes, and practice sample questions together. I suggest meeting this Friday at 4 p.m. in the library, as it provides a quiet and convenient environment for studying. I hope you can join us. Please let me know if you are interested. Best regards, your name. This example clearly explains the purpose, gives specific details about the plan, and provides a clear time and place. All the elements needed for a strong TOEFL response. 3. Asking for a recommendation. Another very common TOEFL email type is asking for a recommendation. This means you are asking someone to suggest a person, service, or even support you professionally. This situation can appear in both formal and informal ways. In more formal situations, you might be applying for a job, a promotion, or a graduate program. In this case, you ask a professor, supervisor, or former boss to be your reference or write a recommendation letter. Because this is a professional request, your tone should be polite and respectful. In more everyday situations, you might ask a friend or colleague for recommendations. For example, you may need a reliable service like a tutor, designer, or mechanic. You could also ask for general suggestions, such as what movie to watch, where to go, or what course to take. These emails are usually more informal, but they still need to be clear and polite. No matter the situation, the structure is very similar. In a TOEFL task, you usually need to explain your situation clearly, ask for a specific recommendation, add polite language to make your request sound respectful. The first part is explaining your situation. This helps the reader understand why you are asking. For example, I am currently applying for a graduate program, or I am looking for a reliable tutor. The second part is making a clear request. Be specific about what you want. Would you be willing to serve as a reference for me? Could you recommend someone you have worked with? The third part is being polite. This is very important. You should make your request sound optional, not forced. Here are some useful phrases. For asking, I was wondering if you could, would you be comfortable? Do you happen to know? For being polite, I completely understand if you're busy. No rush at all. I would really appreciate your help. There are also a few important tips to remember. Give the person an out so they don't feel pressured. Be specific about what you need, and if it's a professional request, include helpful information like your resume. Here are 2 simple templates you can use. Subject: reference request. Hi, name. I hope you're doing well. I am currently applying for a position or program, and I was wondering if you would be comfortable serving as a reference for me. I really valued our experience working together on project or class, and I believe your perspective on my work would be very helpful. I have attached my resume for your reference. Please let me know if this is something you would be able to do. I completely understand if you are busy. Best, your name. Hi, name. I remember you mentioning that you worked with a great service or provider. I am currently looking for one myself and wanted to ask if you would recommend them. If you were happy with their work, would you mind sharing their contact information? No rush at all. Thanks so much. Your name. Now let's write a full email using this pattern. Consider this situation. You are planning a business trip to a small city you have never visited before, and you are not sure what it is like. You heard that your colleague, Maria, recently traveled to the same city for work, so you want to ask her for recommendations on places to eat and things to do during your free time. Your task is to explain why you are traveling to the city, ask for recommendations for restaurants and activities, mention what you would like to do and what you would prefer to avoid. A strong response should clearly include all 3 parts. 2. Maria. Subject: recommendations for upcoming business trip. Dear Maria, I hope you are doing well. I am writing to ask for your recommendations for my upcoming trip. I will be traveling to the city next week for several business meetings, and I expect to have some free time during my stay. Since you recently visited, I thought you might have some helpful suggestions. I would especially appreciate any recommendations for good restaurants and interesting activities. I'm particularly interested in trying local cuisine and exploring cultural attractions, although I would prefer to avoid overly crowded or tourist-heavy areas. I would really appreciate any suggestions you can share, and I completely understand if you are busy. Thank you very much for your help. I look forward to your response. Best regards, your name. 4. Problem plus suggestion for solution. Another common type of TOEFL email is the problem plus suggestion email. In these emails, your goal is to point out an issue and provide a practical solution without sounding rude or overly critical. The key is to be polite and constructive. You might see situations like these. Your assistant recommended a restaurant for a company outing, but it turned out poorly, and you want to explain this politely while suggesting a better approach next time. You ordered a book online, but it hasn't arrived even though school has already started. You want to ask the seller for help or suggest an alternative solution. A group member isn't contributing their part to a project, and you need to inform them about the issue while offering a way to fix it. A local park isn't well maintained, and you want to notify the neighborhood association and suggest improvements. Structure of a problem plus suggestion email. Explain the problem. Clearly describe what went wrong. Useful phrases. I noticed that. There seems to be an issue with. Our project is currently. Describe the effect. This is affecting the group because. It has caused some inconvenience. It is important because. Suggest a solution. You could help by. One possible solution is, it would be helpful if. Template. Dear name. I am writing to discuss problem. Currently, describe what went wrong. This is affecting you/group because effect. You could help by suggestion. Please let me know if you need any assistance. Thank you for your understanding. Best regards, your name. Park maintenance issue. To Mr. Williams. Subject, concern about park maintenance. Dear Mr. Williams, I am writing to bring your attention to a maintenance issue I recently observed in our neighborhood park. Several areas of the park appear to be in poor condition, including broken playground equipment and a noticeable amount of litter. These issues not only affect the appearance of the park, but may also pose safety risks for families and children who use the space regularly. Addressing this situation would greatly benefit the community, and one possible solution would be to organize regular maintenance or a community cleanup effort to keep the park safe and enjoyable. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I look forward to your response. Sincerely, your name. To Alex, subject, group project participation. Dear Alex, I am writing to follow up on our group project and your recent participation. The group has made steady progress so far, including completing the research and outlining the main sections. However, we have had difficulty maintaining our schedule due to missed meetings and incomplete tasks. It would be very helpful if you could contribute by completing your assigned section and attending upcoming meetings so that we can move forward efficiently as a team. Please let us know if you are facing any challenges. We are happy to support you. Best regards, your name. Five, receiving criticism and showing growth. Sometimes in TOEFL email tasks, you may need to respond to criticism. The goal is to maintain professionalism, protect your reputation, and show that you are open to learning and improving. Writing a calm, well-thought-out email instead of reacting immediately gives you time to choose your words carefully and respond constructively. Common situations that require a written response. Constructive work feedback. From your boss, your manager points out a skill gap, such as time management or a poorly structured presentation. From a peer, a coworker suggests a better way to collaborate or points out a mistake in a joint project. After a mistake, you missed a deadline or made a technical error, and someone is holding you accountable. Business and customer feedback. Negative online reviews. A customer leaves a public one-star review about a product or service. Direct complaints. A client emails you directly because they are unhappy with a recent experience. How to respond. the gratitude plus growth approach. To write a professional response to criticism, follow these 3 steps. Thank them. Even if the feedback is hard to hear, start by thanking the person for taking the time to share their perspective. Example: thank you for your feedback regarding the project. Take ownership or clarify. If the criticism is valid, admit the mistake briefly without making long excuses. If the criticism is unfair or vague, offer context politely without sounding defensive. Offer a solution. Explain what you will do to improve or suggest a way to resolve the issue. Example: I've already updated the document and will use a checklist to ensure this doesn't happen again. Example emails. A. Valid criticism. Owning a mistake. Subject: follow-up. Project name. Feedback. Hi name. Thank you for your feedback regarding the specific mistake. I take full responsibility for missing that detail. I have already updated the document to include the missing data. Moving forward, I will use a checklist to ensure this doesn't happen again. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. Best, your name. B. Unfair criticism, clarifying politely. Subject: issue name. Update. Hi name. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on the project timeline. I value your feedback and always want to make sure we're meeting our goals. I'd like to provide a bit more context. The delay was mainly due to unforeseen event, example, a server outage, which was outside our team's control. I'm happy to hop on a quick call this afternoon to discuss how we can adjust the next phase to stay on track. Best, your name. C. Vague criticism, asking for clarification. Subject: clarification on topic name, feedback. Hi name, I appreciate you reaching out with your thoughts on the situation. I am committed to improving my work and want to make sure I fully understand your concerns. Could you provide a specific example of the issue mentioned? Having a clear example will help me make the right changes moving forward. Thanks again for your time. Best, your name. These are sample emails. 1. Criticism from your boss. Bad restaurant recommendation. Subject: follow up on company outing feedback. Hi boss, thank you for your feedback regarding the restaurant I recommended for the company outing. I understand that the experience did not meet expectations, and I take responsibility for not researching it thoroughly. To prevent this from happening in the future, I will make sure to review multiple options and check reviews and menus before making any recommendations. Additionally, I'd be happy to help plan a follow-up activity that better fits the team's preferences. I appreciate your guidance and for bringing this to my attention. Best regards, your name. 2. Criticism from a friend or group member, not contributing to group project. Hi friend, I thank you for sharing your concerns about my contributions to our group project. I realize I have not been fully keeping up with my assigned tasks, and I'm sorry for any inconvenience this caused. To improve, I have already completed the section I was behind on and plan to attend our next meeting fully prepared. I'll also communicate more regularly to make sure we stay on schedule. I really appreciate your patience and feedback. It will help me contribute more effectively moving forward. Best, your name. These example emails show how to respond to criticism gracefully. Both begin by thanking the person for their feedback. Both acknowledge the issue without making excuses. Both provide a clear plan for improvement. The tone is appropriate for the relationship, formal and professional for the boss, friendly yet responsible for the peer.